Hi everyone, my name is Stephanie Newton and I practice homeopathy from here in my home in West Palm Beach. And I'm going to be talking to you today about something that we might be experiencing on a global level, and that is our emotions surrounding this whole quarantine situation. And I'm watching my words because YouTube doesn't want us talking about controversial topics at this time, but you guys know what I'm talking about. So the first one that I'm going to talk about in this series of videos, the first emotion is grief. I think for me that might have been the first thing that I experienced, and it wasn't necessarily that I really felt like I was losing anything. In fact, I felt at first like I was gaining because I enjoy homeschooling my kids, and I've done it in short spurts throughout. Mostly they've been in school, but I've been wanting to homeschool my youngest son, and to have him home with me now, I'm really enjoying that, and I felt like that was a gift, and he felt like that was a gift. So we were pretty much elated at first, and you guys might feel that way too. That at first you were feeling I don't know, set free from your job or whatever. You were given some kind of a gift, but then it starts to you start to realize, like, well, I mean, if this goes on for a long time, I'm going to be experiencing loss, and whether that's financial loss or whatever. But mostly today, I'm going to be talking about just more emotional loss in our old life, in general. And I'm going to be talking about homeopathic remedies that can be used for that, so that if you can't afford a homeopath or don't have one or don't want to get established with one right now, you can maybe do a little bit of self-treating with just remedies that you can find at Whole Foods or Amazon. If you're someone who experiences grief or depression on a regular basis, you do want to see a homeopath. I'm available. You can look in the description for my contact information. But I think at this time, I just want to offer some advice on remedies that can be used just during this time to help just alleviate a little bit of the heaviness. But first, I'm going to go into the 5 stages of grief, because you may find yourself going through these stages, and I'll just offer my opinion on, these 5 stages of grief and how they relate to the quarantine situation. So the first stage is denial. I think I went through this at first. I did not want to admit that we had to go through this. I wanted to be angry that we're going through this, and I'll just leave that there. I did not want to quarantine. I did not, but I did. I'm not like a rebel in society. In some ways I am, but I'm not going to like break the law and make my neighbors angry and stuff like that. But I was in denial, and I sort of got annoyed with people who were strictly quarantining, and I just had a lot of emotions there. But I've kind of gotten through that. The next stage would be anger. Again, I was, annoyed. I wouldn't say angry, annoyed with people. Like I reached out to some friends and wanted to hang out with them the first couple weeks that this was going on, and no, nobody wanted to hang out. Like everybody wants to quarantine, and it made me feel angry. Not that I couldn't see them, but like that really you're going along with this government mandate. I don't know. It's just how I felt at that time. You might be angry that you're losing money, or you've lost your job, or that you can't go see your mom in the nursing home, or I'm sure there's other things I haven't even considered or thought of. So anger can be the next stage of grief. The third one would be bargaining. And some of these can all sort of happen at once and run together too. So I've already talked about bargaining. Like the first 2 stages I went through that, I was in denial. Like I wanted to get my friends to come see me still, or get some of my friends so we can get our kids together, kind of thing. And I was bargaining. I was like, no, this isn't happening. I think it goes along with denial, actually. It can. You're trying to like beg for things to change. You're trying to reverse the situation. The next one would be depression. And I've definitely experienced this, even a little today. I mean, I'm lucky that I can just go into my kitchen and grab some remedies, or my hallway closet, and I can grab some remedies in very high potency, and I know exactly what I need to be taking for any depression that sets in. I've experienced depression, clinically in the past, severe, but it's been a long time. And so, it was more situational for me. For some of you, it might be more situational. It might have to do with just, again, like losing your old way of life. I think for me, it's more the fear of when will the old way of life come back? Or I guess that would be it, I mean, my life isn't all that different than it was, but in some ways it is. It's like, oh, I can't go to church, which I want to do now more than I want to do that now more than now that I can't. I want to go to church, and it's like, I can't. It's things like that are just, kind of bringing on like the doldrums, the melancholy. I wouldn't say depression for me, but melancholy, a little heaviness, a little like, I want to see somebody, I've got my kids. That's really all I'm seeing. I can see my mom, but we've been busy this week. I didn't get to see my mom. That helped me too. So, you'll find yourself possibly going through some heaviness. And then the last stage of acceptance, or the last stage of grief, would be acceptance. I don't know that, this is a weird one with the quarantine, because like, do we have to reach the stage of acceptance, or do we just have to be lifted from quarantine, but I do remember, like, I do remember a couple days where I was like, okay, this is it. This is life. Some of you may never reach that stage because you might not feel better until you go back to your old way of life. And we also have to accept that things may never be what they once were, and probably won't for a long time. Even if we are to go back to our old way of life in a couple months, it's not going to be just like it was, because there's a lot of fear out there. They're already talking about changing some policies regarding, like, you have to get an antibody test in order to go back to work or be able to do this or that. And some people who may follow me or be watching this video may say, I'm not getting tested, I'm not getting, any shots, I'm not, no. And that's sort of where I am too. So there might be this level of acceptance where we say, okay, so life for me is going to be different, because I'm not going to be doing those things. And so I may be kept out of certain environments because I'm not going to have my papers to show and stuff like that. So, acceptance can be tricky with this situation, and because do we have to accept it? And on some level we do, on some level we don't. So I guess that's all I want to say about that. I think it's important things have been taken away from us, period. And control has been taken away from us. We don't have control of this situation. I mean, you will get arrested if you just go. Some guy got arrested for paddleboarding in California. I mean, you can't even just go solo paddleboard in the ocean. A lot of control has been taken away from us. So my biggest advice to that is, when you have no control, figure out what you do have control over. It could be, taking a hot bath, meditating. Meditating is huge for that, because it really, and prayer, both of those can help you to connect to what is real beyond this 3D reality that we're experiencing. It can't get any more 3D than this. Like, we've been put in our boxes, but there is more to life than what we see. And by meditating, by praying, we can connect to that. So keep that in mind. So let's talk about, I should have gotten some water. My mouth is getting dry. Let's talk about homeopathic remedies that you can take at this time. I'm going to share my screen, and let's see. Yeah, I'm going to my homeopathic software, actually. And I have this set up so that I can talk about several different emotions. Like I said, right now I'm doing grief. The next remedy I'm going to be talking about remedies for feeling isolated and alone. The next set of remedies will be for feeling more like a financial loss or a sense of misfortune, which can be huge for some of us at this time. There's a lot of unknown there. Some people are going to lose their businesses, even if they get government help, you know, that kind of thing. Then I'm going to be talking about homeopathic remedies for fear of contamination, fear of germs, fear of your health, having to do with the virus. And then I'm going to be talking about people who have a sense of injustice, like they're angry over the injustices that they're seeing in the world. And that could be any number of things that are occurring in the world. And you know, we're all probably feeling a little bit of each of these things at this time. And so you can pick out maybe the most predominant emotion. And then if that sort of becomes more subtle, pick out the next emotion that may arise. Because if you're no longer feeling, you know, if you take a remedy for grief, let's say, and now like the grief is feeling better, but now you're like scared, you know, of germs, switch to those remedies. So we'll talk about that. So the first one, and I can't talk about obviously all of these. I'm only going to talk about the first like 5 that come up, and not even that many, because some of these you won't be able to get in America. And I know some of you are watching from England or wherever, where you can just go to your local homeopathic pharmacy and get these remedies, but not all of these are legally sold in America. So I'm just going to be talking about the ones that you can get at Amazon, Whole Foods, places like that. I also don't know that you would even be able to get remedies from overseas right now. I don't know. So the first one is phosphorus. And by the way, the 3 things that I put into my homeopathic software to come up with these set of remedies are these 3 rubrics: mind and grief. Okay, so you're in your mind, you're experiencing grief and loss, and then fear that something bad will happen. I think I put that in there because of the fear that possibly things are not going to go back to the way they were, which would heighten the sense of grief, like you've lost something. So phosphorus, this is a mineral remedy, and I'm going to read from the mind section, okay? Now, what I'm reading here is called materia medica. This is basically the description of the remedy and what it can do. And as you can see, there's like thousands of things here. I'm not going to talk about all of it. You don't have to be dealing with all of these things for this remedy to help you. So, you know, I'm going to talk about the things that I think pertain to our current situation and how it could possibly help you. So mentally, so phosphorus is for somebody who's feeling mentally and emotionally sensitive, oversensitive to external impressions, excitable, impressionable, sympathetic to others, nervous and restless in crowds. I'm sure some of you are feeling that way when you go to the grocery store. Sensitive to others' pain and suffering. A lot of people around us are suffering. So it's not even just the people who get sick or who are losing their businesses or whatever. We're all suffering, you know, so being sensitive to the pain and suffering of those around you. I've actually experienced this just with my own kids. I feel like, I don't even know if they're feeling this, but I'm feeling sad for them that life has changed. You know, ultimately I tell myself, well, maybe life is eventually going to change for the better because of this, you know. So sympathetic to others, spacey, can't keep your mind on any subject. Again, you don't have to experience all of these for this remedy to be good for you. Brain feels tired, lacks willpower to undertake anything. I've experienced, I think I need this remedy. I'm probably going to say that about all of these, but I've experienced that. Just for me to do this video today was like, oh, I'm going to take a shower and get dressed, and I don't really feel like doing it. And I had to like really push myself through it. Melancholy is in this description, disinclined to work or study. Let's see, wants sympathy. Okay, weary of life. Suicidal disposition. I mean, most of us are not going to be brought to that level of despair, but you know, that's a possibility. A lot of remedies though have that description in it. That doesn't mean that this is going to, by the way, I'm not a doctor. I should have said that in the beginning. And these are not medicines. These are homeopathic remedies. This doesn't mean like if somebody's having suicidal thoughts, you give this remedy and they're going to be fine. No, you need to call your psychiatrist if that's happening. Call a doctor. Go to the ER. But that is one of the things that is listed here. What else? Confusion. Some of us may be really confused by all the different stuff we're hearing in the news. I'm sure there's more here. I don't want to drag this out though. Irritable and spacey, offended and easily hurt, easily angered, beside himself with anger, rage, hypocrisy. I don't know about hypocrisy, but so those are some things that phosphorus can help. And you'll see some overlapping themes with a lot of these remedies. But if you're like listening to that and you're like, oh my gosh, that's me, then consider phosphorus. Okay, I gotta somehow get out of here. Oh, how did we do this? Sorry guys, hold on. Okay, what? Sorry, hold on. I don't feel like editing this out, so you're gonna have to be patient with me. I see what I did wrong. Okay, so the next remedy that we will talk about is Ignatia. I'm just gonna go right to Amazon and show you guys how this one is spelled. There's phosphorus, by the way, and Ignatia. And I'm gonna have these linked below. So you can go right to Amazon, right to the link, and order these. So as you can see here, this is Ignatia 200C. Hopefully you guys can see that. I'll make it bigger. Ignatia, Ignatia. And this is a 200C potency. You can take a 200C, but I would start with a 30C. 200C just might be too much. So, you know, you can start with a 30C. Let's see if they have a 30C here somewhere. That's 30X, no. Ignatia 30C, here's one right here. So I'll have that linked. And let's go to the description of the remedy. I'm gonna go to the mind section again. Okay, so this is a little bit more of a deeper grief remedy. Suppressed or deep grief with long drawn out sighs, sobbing, anguish, shrieking for help, melancholy. Now some of this is going to sound a little dramatic. You don't have to be experiencing the most dramatic of these symptoms for you to be helped by Ignatia. You could be, it says here, melancholy, sad, tearful. So you don't have to be hysterical. You can just be tearful. You might not even be crying. Ailments from grief. So in other words, like if you're experiencing physical symptoms and you think it stems from grief. Ailments from emotional shock or disappointment, from fright. What else? Worse for consolation. So if somebody's consoling you and you feel worse and you're like, leave me alone. Quarrelsome, angry at yourself, constantly frustrated, oversensitive and nervous, intolerant of contradiction or reprimands, rapid changing moods, highly emotional and moody, joking and laughter, changing to sadness and tears. So if you've ever been in that, I've done that before. You're joking and laughing and then you're crying and you're just like overcome with so much emotion all at once. Uncontrollable emotions, hysteria, a feeling of your throat, like, you know, if you've ever been sad and like you get this, like, what do they call it, a knot in your throat, a lump in your throat, that is characteristic of this remedy. Spasms, epilepsy. So there can be a lot of like nervous twitching and stuff with this remedy. That's it. That's all I'm going to say with that one. I think I differentiated it a little bit with phosphorus there. The next one we will talk about is aqua. I'm just going to say a couple of these that if you're in another country or you do have a homeopath and you're able to get these, aqua marina is one. but we'll do Natrum muriaticum, okay? Natmur for short. This is actually made from salt, sodium chloride. So it's another mineral remedy. The Ignatia was a plant remedy. So this one, I'm going to again read the mind section. Reserved and introverted, depression with spells of irritableness and crossness, severe depression with feelings of isolation, depression after a death of a loved one, a divorce, a broken relationship, broken heart, acute and chronic grief, dwells on the past, holds grudges for years, easily offended, excuse me, cannot cry in front of others, distressed by company, ailments from grief, disappointed love, depressed and introverted, dwells on past unpleasant memories, sulking and sighing. Let's see, I'm trying to find some stuff here that would go along with our current situation. Cries from music, fear of rejection and intimacy and betrayal, aversion to sex, low sex drive, sadness in pregnancy, hypochondria. So that would possibly fit the situation, like if you're sort of experiencing fear of germs would be part of hypochondria, but also fear of like, oh my gosh, my health is bad, you know, something's wrong with me. Scattered thoughts, forgetfulness, absent-minded, irritable, and gets upset. What else? Awkward speech, mistakes in speaking, just in case you happen to have any of that, shy and timid. So, you know, one way to differentiate this one with Ignatia is with Ignatia, there tends to be some suppression. So, you know, a person could be crying and need Ignatia, but they also could be completely suppressing their emotions and their grief. And then it comes out in more of a physical symptom like the throat, the knot in the throat, like somebody who they can't cry. And so it's stuck in the throat. Or they might be having like some tics, twitches, even sort of just, I don't know, a riled up nervous system, you know, things like that. Maybe they can't sleep because they're so riled up, that kind of thing. So, and yeah, I guess that's the only thing I want to say to differentiate those. Let's see, I think that's all I'm going to do for those. I think between Phosphorus or Ignatia or Natrum muriaticum, you can probably experience a little bit of relief. If you're not really sure which one, pick one and do a 30C, try it out. You know, don't do a 200C if you're not sure. And I really suggest that you don't do a 200C unless you're working with a homeopathic or you have access to a homeopath, like you're already established with somebody. That way, if, you know, something weird happens or you're not sure, like if it did what it's supposed to do, you have somebody to reach out to. So I guess that's it, guys. That's long enough, isn't it? Let me stop sharing the video. If you are interested in my services, you can look at the link below. I'm trying to think of what else. If you're interested in a free guide to using homeopathic remedies for acute conditions, which means like more physical short-term situations, such as, you know, first aid situations, getting a cold or a flu or something like that, you can go ahead and look in the description box on how to get that free resource. It's an ebook on how to use homeopathy at home. I think it's like, I don't know, 20 pages long, I don't remember. And that's about it. And all the remedies that, I guess I only spoke about 3 remedies, really. The 3 remedies that I mentioned in this video are in the description box. And go ahead and subscribe if this interested you and you're interested in the next of this series of videos, the other emotions that I'm going to talk about, that the other remedies you can use for the other emotions that I mentioned. So go ahead and subscribe and hit the notification bell if you're interested in that. And I hope that you guys are able to find peace in this situation There's a lot of emotions flaring, especially on social media. Take a social media break too. I'm only allowing myself to go on Facebook once a day. I deleted the app on my phone, and I'm only allowing myself to go on Facebook once a day when I'm at my computer. And I'm doing Twitter, but I'm not spending too much time there. It doesn't get me quite as upset for some reason. I don't know. I probably should take a break from Twitter too, but you know, give yourself a break from it all. We don't have to be enmeshed with all of the emotions that are going up and down all day long, all week long, all month long. We can take a break and just live life. You know, go within and just live for the moment. All right. Have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.